Last time. A human hammer. They're often used to subdue large men like Seven. What? That was a joke, of course. Thank you, Captain Obvious. We're back in the captain's quarters. We are about to explore. A chair stained with blood. We can assume that's probably his blood. There's blood on the chair. Do you think this was the dead guys? Yeah, probably. That would make sense. Camera? A camcorder? It looks like it's pointed at the door. Oh, the power's on. Why would somebody want to videotape a door? That's just weird. There's a plaque on the door, but it doesn't say anything. It's blank. The display's dark. I guess the power isn't on. It's a little rectangular hole. I think it's a keyhole of some sort. With the right key, I should be able to unlock it. Huh, okay. The door locked? So this is the exit, huh? Doesn't really even have to... I don't even really have to try this door to know that it's locked. I knew it. Well, you never know. We had a good luck streak so far with a couple unlocked doors. A music box? Oh, it's one of these old music boxes. How about we wind it up? Bring back childhood memories. Why does it sound like that? Is it broken? The pins on the cylinder are shaped all weird. I don't think those are pins. It looks like someone put something else on top of it. I think we're gonna have to try to take it apart to figure out what's going on, don't you? A music box. There's pins on the cylinder. It looks odd. Well, we probably need some tools to do that. A small table. It's a lamp! It doesn't turn on. I don't think there's anything special about it. Nothing to see here. Look how he says that. Nothing to see here. It's just a lamp. Go away. There's nothing under the bed sheets. The bed! There's nothing in it. Oh, what's this? What's the deal with this? Is it some kind of code? There are 4 rows of numbers and letters. They all start with a 0 and end with 8, F, N, or V respectively. Maybe this has something to do with the number bases. New material has been added to the file screen. There's a bunch of weird buttons on here. They'll probably switch what you see on the screens. You know how to work this thing? Why don't we just press one of these? Like this one. 0. Well, I guess it does change the... What the hell is this? A hint, maybe? That's all I can assume. Junpei snorted with grim humor for the second time since he'd come into the room. The 4 screens along the bottom had a single letter each spelling out 0. Junpei felt as though he was being mocked. The real villain was somewhere laughing at him. Maybe this is all a ruse. That's at least what I think. What do you think? He turned to Clover, who was standing next to him. Her voice was almost too low to hear. Nothing. It seemed that she cared about little. Of course, Junpei could hardly blame her. Given the strain she was surely under, Junpei was somewhat surprised she had responded at all. Still, he had to ask. He gestured towards the corpse. What about him? Do you think that's really 0? Clover shook her head weakly. There's no way that's him. Didn't I tell you already? 0 is one of us. Yeah, right. Well, even if he wasn't one of us, there's no way that man could be 0. Don't you get it? The letters that spell 0 on the TV screen. The captain's clothes he's got on. And of course the bracelet with a 0 on it. It's too obvious. Look, this 0 right here. You gotta believe it. This dead body is 0. Doesn't that seem kind of funny to you? You're right. Only an idiot wouldn't see for something like that. No, that's not the point. I'm not trying to make fun of them for thinking a trick like this would work. I'm sure they didn't think it would work. Which makes me wonder, why did they do it? I think this is a challenge from the person who's really behind all of this. He's making fun of us. Don't you get it? If whoever killed this guy really wanted to think, or us to think this corpse was 0, they'd never have put a bracelet on him. Walking out of a 0 bracelet would be like hanging a sign around your neck that said, I did it! Anyone with a brain would be able to see that this guy is supposed to look like everything Zero is supposed to be. Just like we did. The killer must have known we wouldn't think he was Zero and put the bracelet on him anyway. Do you know why? Why? Like I said, he's mocking us. It's the only thing. Too bad, suckers. This isn't Zero. It's the same bad joke a lot of criminals like to play. They'll just sit back and watch. People run in circles. Look, here I am. What's wrong, guys? You can't get me? Come on, catch me if you can. That's really twisted. But it almost seems kind of childish. Yeah, you're right. It really is childish. It's just a game to whoever this person is. That's what seems funny to me. Junpei bent down next to the corpse. Alright, let's get back to the point. Who killed this man? I don't know. And what's this guy's deal? Who is he? How would I know that? If I knew anything, I would have told you. You have no idea who he is? Why would I? Good point. Junpei sat back on his haunches and thought. We should check and see if he's got anything on him that might tell us who he is. Give me a hand here, Clover. What? We gotta flip him over. How else are we gonna search his pockets? She didn't want to touch that thing. Clover didn't move. It's because she doesn't like cadavers. Junpei had no choice but to move the body on his own. He grabbed hold of an area not completely covered in blood and shoved. It took a moment, but eventually Junpei felt the man's bulk begin to shift. But just as it did, something fell from the man's left wrist. The bracelet with Zero on its face. Lastly, let us discuss how to remove the bracelets. There are only two ways to do so. 1. You escape from the ship. 2. Your heart rate reaches 0. In other words, once the bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship or detects its wearer's heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically. Junpei stared at the bracelet. This man, he's dead, isn't he? No, it's just I guess I didn't really think about it until right now. If his bracelet's off, that means he's dead. Well, it's pretty obvious that he's dead. You don't really need to look at his bracelet to figure that out. Yeah, I guess you're right. It is pretty obvious, but he looks a lot better than the other bodies we've seen, you know? I mean, if there wasn't all this blood, he'd almost look like he was still alive. I mean, I know it's kind of a messed up thing to say, but he kind of has it better than, you know? Dying from a bomb going off inside you, I mean, that's just, Some of Snake's bones went right through his skin. I think the explosion must have thrown him against a wall or something. There's a broken bone just sticking out of his left. Oh my god, Junpei, why are you talking to her about her dead brother? Suddenly, Junpei realized what he was saying. How could he have been so cruel? He clapped his hands over his mouth. But it was already too late. He turned to look at Clover. She was glaring at him furiously. What did you just say? Her words sounded cold. He knew an apology could hardly atone for what he'd done, but he tried anyways. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I really don't know what I was thinking. I mean... No, that's not what I'm talking about. What did you say about his arm? Arm? Yes, his left arm. You said it, didn't you? Well, yeah, I did, but... I mean, didn't you see it too? Of course not. I could barely look at him. Clover took a quick, deep breath. Are you sure it was his left arm? Junpei thought back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. And he had a broken bone, right? What the hell are you getting at here? Just shut up and answer me. She shoved her face closer to his. You could see the fire in her eyes. Junpei winced and swallowed. Yeah, he did. It was pretty bad, too. The bone was sticking out of the arm. No sooner were the words out of his mouth than Clover's expression changed. Suddenly she was crying. Junpei wasn't sure what to do. Thank you. It was close to the last thing he had expected to hear. Junpei had no idea what just happened. He didn't think he'd done anything worthy of thanks, and he couldn't understand why she had been chosen that moment to begin crying. So he simply stood there, confused. Thank you, Junpei. She thanked him again, and then something even stranger happened. Clover threw herself into Junpei's surprised arms. Hey, what's going on with you? I'm sorry, I'm so happy. Why? The body in the shower room. It isn't my brother's. Huh? It's not Snake. Why on earth would you think that? Because his left arm is. She stopped herself. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't have been talking about this. Junpei decided it would be prudent not to press her for any more information. Maybe this is something about the experiment she was telling us about. If she did not wish to tell him, she certainly had no reason for doing so. Perhaps more importantly, however, if Clover is so certain, then she was likely right. That meant the body in the shower room wasn't Snake's. Wasn't much, but the knowledge somehow lifted the weight from Junpei's heart. He's still alive! I'm so happy! Tears shone in her eyes. Those tears melted Junpei's heart. As she cried, she had pushed herself up against his chest like a child, and put his arms around her and held her tight. Junpei, you were right. No matter what happens, you can never lose hope. You have to remember what's most important, and that's to have faith, and to have love. If you can remember all of those, it'll bring you good luck. Oh, that's so corny, but I love it. Clover reached into her pocket and pulled something out. It was a laminated bookmark with a 4-leaf clover, the one we gave her earlier. I only made it here because you gave me this. I was suspicious of everybody and I was angry and miserable. But because I had this 4-leaf clover, because of what you said to me, Junpei hadn't thought his words would have had such an effect on her. Her words were making him feel a little awkward. Thank you so much, Junpei. She looked up at him. He scratched his nose and pretended to notice something interesting elsewhere in the room. If you really want to thank... Oh wait, that's the wrong voice. If you really want to thank somebody, you should be thanking Santa. Santa? Why? Well, he was the one who gave me that thing. The words for each leaf, I got that from him too. Then suddenly, Clover broke away from Junpei. Huh? He looked confused. He hadn't thought she'd react that poorly. Clover began to pace across the room. 6 steps to the left, 6 to the right, another 6 to the left, and then she stopped. Did Santa really tell you these things? Her eyes were serious, but not angry. Yeah, he did. Did I, say something wrong? Oh no, not at all. In fact, this could be really good news. I think. You think? Santa knew about the words in the clover. Only people who should know about things other than the subjects. Subjects? The other people who were in the experiment 9 years ago with my brother. And me. What the fuck? But he's blind. I was part of the Nevada test group, so neither of us would be able to recognize the face of the people who were on this boat. Whoa, time out. Junpei held up his hands. He took a deep breath and let it out. Okay, let's just calm down for a second, okay? Start from the top. Don't start with the end and then jump to the middle. You gotta start 1 and then move to 2, 3, and 4, and so on. If you don't tell me this stuff in the right order, I'm never gonna be able to figure it out. Clover nodded. Alright, let's start this experiment. What happened on this boat 9 years ago? Do you know about the morphogenic fields? Yes, actually, he did, and the realization sent chills down Junpei's spine. It was Lotus that told us. Alright, how about this? Theory of the telepathic mechanism. Junpei recounted what Lotus had told him earlier. Clover nodded. Telepathy, huh? Well, that's not really it, but I suppose it's similar. So they were testing telepathy on the ship? Yeah, I guess so. So, what exactly did they have you guys do? The same thing that we're doing now. Exactly the same thing. Ah! What? A killing game? The nonary game. 9 people were put on this boat, and 9 others were put in the building in the Nevada. The game started. Junpei grabbed the sides of his head. Look, I'm sorry, but I don't get it. What do the nonary game and some telepathic experiment have to do with each other? Clover bit her lip. She blinked back sudden tears. What had happened to her in Nevada? The ability to access morphogenic field is affected by a couple of things. The first is epiphany, and the other is danger. You know how sometimes when you're up against a really tough problem, and the answer just kind of pops into your head? That's an epiphany. What you learn from the epiphany can be transmitted with telepathy. You add danger to that equation, it gets easier to transmit that information over telepathy. Oh. So you're saying the notary game was supposed to introduce that element of danger? Yeah, but it couldn't be just any old danger. It had to be life and death. And someone actually did die. A girl. Junpei felt the sudden grip of despair on his heart. Something deep and distant and powerful squeezed, and for a moment he felt very empty and alone. Man, despair does that to you. You just gotta have hope, love, and luck. She was on the boat. She was on the boat with my brother. I was in Nevada, so I never met her, but I did hear her name. Her name was... God damn it, I want to hear that. What's with this timing? The sound of the door opening was like a gunshot. Junpei spun around. Oh, my apologies. I seem to have disturbed you again. Ace. You two must have strong stomachs. I can't imagine how you could stay in this room for so long. Ace glanced down at the floor, at the corpse covered in blood. At any rate, Junpei, would you be so kind as to come help me with something? I'm having a little trouble, and I can't really... could you really use your assistance, your brain, as you will? Come on, it'll only take a moment. With that, he turned and walked back towards the communications office. Clover waited until he was out of sight, then spoke in a small, quiet voice. I didn't want Ace to hear us. We can talk about this later. Huh? Hey, wait, no, not later, now. Clover ignored him. From outside, Junpei could hear Ace calling. Junpei, what are you doing in there? Hurry up. Okay. Grumbling to himself, Junpei stomped off toward the communications office. Huh. Oh, wait, no, I want to go back. You were just getting called at earlier. So he wants us to go to this communications office. Small screwdrivers. That's useful. We can actually probably use that to disassemble the thing there. Ink. There's nothing in the drawer anymore. But actually, you know what? Before I do this, since it is letting me go back to the room, I want to try something. Bear with me here. Let's take a look at that file. Numerical system chart. No dice. It doesn't matter what I push on here. It's not working. I don't think the power's on. Okay. So I can't do that. I have an idea here, but I can't put it into fruition yet because we can't quite get access to that. What do you mean? It's just sending whatever it sees to someone. What does it see? The door. The exit. It's locked. I meant to click back, actually. What? We'll go back in the comm room then and look around a little more. It's an old telegraph machine. It'll be honest, I have no idea how it works at all. Nothing suspicious here, but we did find something in the drawer, which was the screwdriver kit, which I will use in a minute. The cable that comes out of this thing is connected to the desk. What does that mean? It looks as though that drawer is the only thing that's locked. I don't see a keyhole, though. An electronic lock, perhaps? Take a look at the left side of the drawer. Yeah, there's some cables over there. That must mean... the tip is hooked onto the end of the desk drawer. An early telecommunications device. Most likely used to transmit a radio signal of sorts. I experimented with it earlier, but to no avail. I imagine it's broken. There's a pair of headphones on the desk. Should we listen to them? No. Hey, what's this? It's plain. There's nothing written on it. There's paper. A chair. Oh yes, Junpei, it is a chair. There's a telegraph key, a machine for transmitting Morse code. I tried sending an SOS earlier, but I doubt that did anything. So you would never make it that easy. So you think it's broken? No, it works. I'm just not sure if it actually transmits anything outside the ship. You know what? Okay. Let's try a few things then that I had in mind. Hey, Ace, look, it's a monkey with glasses. How on earth did you arrive at that conclusion? Okay, let's try the screwdriver set with this and take it apart. Alright, the screwdriver ought to make short work of this music box. Got a cylinder now, at least. I guess I'll put the ink on the cylinder. Black. Now let's try combining it with the paper and see if it comes up with anything. Now I just gotta roll the cylinder across the piece of paper, and if I'm right, the ink should... Aha! That explains why it was strange shaped. The Morse code chart. Alrighty, now I got a visual picture of it in my head. We should be able to do this. The problem is I don't know how to send Morse code. Alright, I've got the Morse code I'm supposed to use. If I do this right, something will happen, I hope. Alright, let's give this a shot. Now, we might have a bit of an issue here. I don't watch a whole lot of movies, nor have I ever used a telegraph machine once. I know I can make dots by hitting it, but that's it. I'm not quite sure how to make the other symbol here. Well, hopefully the game tells us. It's not like the binary and computer coding knowledges that I have. The game's been pretty good about that so far, so we're probably going to have to back out a year and try to find an answer. Hey Junpei, what's the matter? You can do better than that. My hand slipped. I'll get it right next time. I'm not sure how to work this thing. There's a big-ass rat trap over here. I told you, that's a telegraph key. It is a device that transmits messages through Morse code, you idiot. There's no cheese on it, unfortunately. You operate by pressing this button. The dot, which is read as a dit, is the result of a light tap on the button. Dash, which is read as a daw, is what you will get if you hold the button. Oh, thank you. I wasn't quite sure how to use it. Okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. that makes more sense, okay? So dit, 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 daw, daw. And about just dit, 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 about 5 dits there. A single daw, 3 dits, a daw, a couple daws, and 2 dits. And we should be off. Fuck. Gotta do that all again. That's a perfect time for my opinion, then. I will say one thing about 999 so far, this being a perfect example, is how self-contained the game is. It presents all the information you need, and doesn't ask for anything it doesn't present, which is normally a huge pet peeve in mystery games for me. Oh, perfect. I heard a noise and a click. That means we're probably good. That's the last one, yes! Excellent work, Junpei, good job. You seem to have figured it out. You've unlocked the drawer. Alright, onto the drawer we go then. What awaits us in the drawer? A red file lay in the drawer. Junpei reached out and picked it up. The cover read, Alice. All ice. Alice? Did that mean... Is it about the mummy? Junpei couldn't hold back. He had to know what was in that file. Each page was covered with strange characters. They looked like tiny drawings of birds, snakes, insects, horned animals, wings, and even kneeling humans. What is it, Egyptian? Or hieroglyphs, whatever they're called. There were many pages in the file, and each was full of these strange symbols. What the hell is this? He didn't realize he'd spoken out loud until Ace looked over at him. They were hieroglyphs. I was right. A form of writing used in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt? That's right. Can you read them? Of course. Wait, of course, that's no problem. Okay, never mind. I can't. What would make you think I could? What the hell? Junpei flipped through a few more pages. It wasn't just 1 or 2 pages that were covered in the strange symbols. Every single page was covered in them. Trying to read this was pointless. Junpei wasn't going to waste any more time with them. He made to close it, Okay, he went to close it and something fell out. He bent down and picked it up. A key card! Perfect, there was a symbol on it that reminded Junpei of the symbols for Saturn and Mercury key cards. This one, however, had a dot in the center of the male symbol. Uranus, that's the Uranus symbol. Junpei looked over to see Ace examining the card. In addition to the Uranus symbol, there were 3 words engraved on the card as well. On the lower right, it said Bottom Deck Library. This must be the key to the library on the bottom deck. So it would seem. The bottom deck, the library. Junpei remembered something he'd heard from Seven when they'd been in the chemical closet. Alice sleeps in a small chamber past the force of knowledge beneath the navel of the gigantic. Did beneath the navel mean the bottom of the deck? Did force of knowledge mean through the library? That would make sense. If it did, then Alice was in a room somewhere beyond the library. What's wrong? Junpei blinked, Only then did he notice Ace looking at him, curiosity and concern written across his face in equal parts. There was no reason for Junpei to hide his thoughts. He began to explain his theory to Ace. Then he stopped. It wouldn't make any sense if Ace didn't know who Alice was supposed to be. So he told Alice everything June had told him. Or Ace. I should call him Alice. He's not a frozen mummy. About the Egyptian priestess, about Ice 9. And finally, about the woman who wouldn't melt, who had been recovered from the Titanic disaster. He told him about how she had been called All Ice, which had eventually turned to Alice. Now she had been purchased by an English millionaire who called himself Lord Gordain. And how Gordain had hit Alice somewhere on the ship. And you think he hit her in a small room beyond the library at the bottom of the deck? Yeah, well, I mean, I guess so. I see. Ace stared off into the distance, his hand slowly and absent-mindedly stroking his beard. After a few moments, his hand stopped. He turned slowly to look at Junpei, his brows drew together. Junpei, have you ever heard of the term CAS? CAS? It stands for Cells Alive System. It is an advanced technology for freezing and pressurizing organic matter. Put simply, it is a technique that allows one to freeze things without the formation of ice crystals. Normally, if you freeze something fresh, water within its cells expand as it crystallizes, damaging the cell membrane. CAS, however, works differently. The object is to be frozen as supercooled using magnetic fields and then frozen instantly and uniformly, giving ice crystals no time to form. It was originally developed for the preservation of food as an alternative for the normal freezing process. Now, however, there are rumors that it can be used for other things. What do you mean, other things? Well, there are obvious medical uses, but perhaps also space travel. Space travel? Are you serious? Surely you've heard of suspended animation, cryogenic freezing. It's a fairly common idea in science fiction books and films. People are sometimes frozen for especially lengthy journeys through space. That was when Junpei understood what Ace was suggesting. Whoa, wait a minute there. Ace looked at him and raised an eyebrow. Are you saying that Alice was frozen using that CAS thing? Well, I'm sure the possibility is quite low, but it is a possibility. If this special ice you call Ice 9 does indeed exist, and if CAS were used to freeze her into that sort of ice instantaneously, you think she could be alive? Well, I can't say for sure, of course. I'm only talking about possibilities here. The melting point for Ice 9 is 96 degrees, right? She were put somewhere where she could reach that temperature. That's nuts! You're really saying she could have defrosted and started walking about? You're quite right, it does sound unbelievable. But if she had, then we would have an explanation for the men who we found dead on the floor. You mean the guy dressed like a captain? Yes. He was dead when we found him. Clearly he was murdered. But if he was murdered, then by who? It couldn't have been one of us. That would be impossible. In order to enter the captain's quarters, one must first open door 1. The door that requires the Earth key prevented us from accessing door 1. Who was it that opened that door? Santa and Lotus. Right. Clearly the two of them could have not opened door 1 or any other door. For that matter. Who else then could have done so? Junpei thought for a second. Nobody. After Santa and Lotus had used the Earth key, they turned back and met up with Junpei and June, who had just returned from EDEC. The four of them proceeded to return to the large hospital room to reunite with Ace, 7, and Clover. When Junpei and his team had gone to the shower room, Ace, 7, and Clover had been left in the large hospital room, but they would have been unable to open door 1. Perhaps when Junpei and June had taken the elevator to door 2 then. No, that would have been impossible. They had been gone only 5 minutes. No human being could have run to the captain's quarters, killed the man in there, and run back in 5 minutes. It would be impossible for any of us to be the murderer. That being the case, who could have killed him? It wouldn't make sense if the killer were someone who had been in the ship for some time. Well, I guess when you look at it like that, yeah. A person like that would know the ship well. They would know the locations of all the hidden passages and secret doors. The number of doors would mean nothing to someone like that. It would be a simple thing for them to enter the captain's quarters. Then you're saying the killer was Alice? It was Junpei's turn to raise an eyebrow. Ace drew his thumb across his lip thoughtfully. Mommy, it's kind of like a zombie. Well, this is all only one possible theory, and many. Alice! Alice! Was Alice indeed somewhere on the ship with them? Junpei had only one clue. A key card in his hand that looked like a male symbol with a dot in it. It would, he hoped, grant him access to the Forest of Knowledge. But beyond that, what waited for him beyond the Forest of Knowledge? Whatever might be there, however, would have to wait. At the moment, there was nothing Junpei could do. He gripped the keycard tighter and shoved it deep into his pocket. New material has been added to the file screen. Ooh. There's a unique key, too. Perfect. Information about All Ice. That numeral system chart really intrigues me. A clock mounted on the wall. The hands aren't moving. So the power's pretty much dead on it like everything else then. A little surprised that the time is wrong then, I suppose. And there's nothing on the back. Well, what I guess we can do now then is we can try opening that lock and try out what I was thinking. The control panel for the electronic lock looks like it's got a keyhole in the bottom. Right. Maybe the key I got earlier. Sweet, just had to put the key in, now it's on. Junpei, look! There's a minus sign on the screen. There's 8 of them. That probably means we gotta put in an 8-digit code. Do you think you can figure it out? You know what? Let me just take one final look at this. I think I can figure it out. What I'm trying to do here is we're trying to get the numbers for 0. Okay. Let's try this then. I'm gonna go with 35. 8 digits, huh? Once I put in the 8-digit number, I just press E to enter it. I missed that. I guess press C. Alright, let's give it a shot. Anyways, before the game so rudely interrupted, I was saying that the code I believe from the numerical chart we looked at is 35, 14, 27, and 24. Again, the key included to that is all the numerical chart and figuring out a code based on what we saw on the screen, which was 0. We gotta convert that. Yes, it worked. Perfect. Alrighty. Yes! Lock open. It worked! Good job, Junpei! Excellent, you seem to have unlocked it. Good work, Junpei. Alright, let's go. Nothing else we can do. You found it! They stepped out of the captain's quarters into another hallway. The hallway stretched out in front of Junpei for a bit, but turning left like a great backwards L, Junpei rounded the corner and took off down the straightaway. He ran and ran and ran. At the end of the hallway was a door. He made straight for it. He was nearly halfway to it when he noticed a piece of paper in the middle of the floor. There was a piece of paper doing in the middle of the hallway. That's a good question. Junpei skidded to a halt. He dropped down to his hands and knees, quickly tore the paper off the floor. A map. Now that he had a chance to examine it more closely, it was clear that it was a map. More specifically, a map of the ship's interior for ADEC. You fast little bugger, what's wrong? Ace, slightly slower by virtue of his advanced age, had finally caught up to Junpei. Junpei said nothing, simply showed Ace what he had found. He looked at it long enough to determine what it was and nodded. I see. With that, he began running again, past Junpei. Junpei shoved the map into his pocket and got up to follow Ace, but something stopped him. Hey! Where's Clover? He turned around. Clover was nowhere to be seen. Damn it! What the hell is she up to? Junpei muttered angrily under his breath and took off back the way he'd came. As he stomped around the corner, he saw her. She was standing in front of the door to the captain's quarters, her hand on the doorknob. As Junpei watched, she closed it gently and quietly. What the hell are you doing? Nothing. What do you mean, nothing? Clover had unconsciously put her hands over the pockets of her jacket as if trying to hide something. What the hell is that? What? You've got something in your pocket. What is it? Oh, this? This is... a note. A note? Yeah. I found it in the pocket of the guy with the captain's clothes. He said something about the darkness of the sinister hand or something. What the hell? Let me see it. But Junpei wasn't going to get to see it. From the other end of the hall, he had heard Ace's voice. Hey, Junpei! Clover! What are you two doing? Hurry up. Clover shrugged. I'll show it to you later, alright? Come on, we gotta hurry! Before Junpei could protest, she was gone. I don't like this. Around the corner and off down the long stem of the L. A note, a note. Junpei was curious, but there was something else that bothered him. Her pocket had been bulging far more than it would from just a note. Huh. Oh god, please don't be what I think it is. Junpei did his best to convince himself that he would make sense of it later and ran after Clover. I know cost alike. Junpei pushed through the room and found himself in a large room with a large set of stairs. It was just what he had expected to see after reading the map. His "I see" after reading the map meant that Ace had probably realized the same thing. Junpei looked around, but Ace was nowhere to be seen. He put his hand on the handrail and leaned over to look down. There he was, and not just Ace, Santa, June, Seven, and Lotus as well. Junpei and Clover glanced at each other and hurried down the stairs. They reached B deck at the same time. Jumpy! Clover! Jun's face was excited. Something had happened, that much Junpei could tell by simply looking at her. What's up? Given their situation, he was not inclined to be excited about sudden developments. June, however, couldn't contain herself. We found it! We found it! Found what? We found it! What did you find? The last door! We found door 9! Oh my, what? Come on, just follow us. We'll explain on the way. Okay, let's go. Seven turned and jogged off down the stairs. The rest followed. We finally made it! The relief and excitement in her voice echoed what each of them had felt. Yeah, it's finally time. Junpei wasn't quite ready to believe they'd really done it, at least not just yet. Still, if everyone said that it was door 9, then it probably was. No ifs, ands, or buts. He could feel his heart racing. A mixture of anticipation and fear ran through his veins, and he could feel his legs shaking. He was doing his best to maintain a sense of healthy skepticism, but he couldn't deny that the prospect of escape was an exciting one. But there was one thing he couldn't get off his mind. The numbered door only accommodated between 3 and 5 people. There were 7 of them on their way to the door. To the door 9. That meant that even in the best case scenario, there would be 2 of them that would have to stay behind. 2 people. He didn't have any solutions to that problem yet, but he was desperately hoping one would present itself. Junpei looked over at the clock. The hands indicated that it was 4:30. They had 90 minutes before their time was up. Hey! Junpei! Jun! What the hell are you two doing? Hurry it up! Santa's voice jolted Junpei out of his reverie. Let's go, Jumpy! Jun took off down the stairs. Jogging as quickly as she could, Junpei followed. C deck. And down the elevator. I'm just expecting something. As a group, they piled onto the elevator and rode impatiently down to E deck. It looked familiar. There was a metal grate between the 2 elevators. Seven grabbed hold of it and began to talk. I know I told you I'd explain it earlier, but honestly, there ain't much to explain. After we split off from you guys, the 4 of us got onto the elevator, on the left, and that took us to the other side of the grate. After that... They'd headed down another hallway. It took them towards the bow of the ship and eventually to the numbered 6 door that Junpei and June had found earlier. With 4, they'd been able to open the door and keep going. As usual, they'd faced a locked door but had been forced to complete 2 different areas before they could unlock it. Once they were through that door, there was another hallway that went back in the other direction towards the stern. So on your way, you found the elevator? That's right. So in other words, you kinda did a lap, huh? You came from that side of the to this side. Yeah. With that settled, Junpei looked around. So where's the number 9 door? Over here. Follow me. 7 began walking down the hallway that led towards the stern. Junpei and the others broke into a jog to keep up with him. They had been walking for a while. June in silent step with Junpei when she spoke. You know, it's because Santa that we're all here right now. Huh? That all 7 of us are going to door 9. You don't get it? Santa, 7, and Lotus. What's their digital root? 3 plus 7 plus 8 equals 18, 1 plus 8. Oh god. 9, okay, it's 9. That's right. They could have just left me behind and kept going if they wanted to. But they didn't. Yes, because Santa wouldn't let them. He said we can't leave June behind. That's why we were looking for you guys. Then you got on the elevator and went back to the central staircase? That's right. Well, I wouldn't have called that one. That Santa would be the one to stick up for me. Or you, I mean. Junpei felt his eyebrows knit as he considered that. So Santa's a pretty decent guy, I guess? I thought that already. Oh, don't get me wrong. Perhaps June had sensed Junpei's concern. I didn't mean that 7 and Lotus said they wanted to leave me behind. We were just talking about it and Santa objected to it first. Junpei was about to respond when 7 suddenly stopped. In front of them stood a door. So, is this? Junpei couldn't see 7's face, but he could see him nod. There's no other place for us to go? No! Just look around. At the end of the hallway was a thick iron wall. To the left and right, other hallways led to the port and starboard sides of the ship, but they were both closed off by thick metal grates. It looked as though 7 was right. The door in front of them was their only choice. Alright, let's get moving. He pulled open the door and walked in. Junpei took a deep breath and followed. It appeared they'd been telling the truth. It's the 9th door. The first thing Junpei saw as he entered the room was the number 9. Like all the others, it was a rough thing made of red paint. The door it decorated sat on the back wall of a rectangular room. Junpei ran up to it. It was a large double door with powerful styling. Something about it was almost majestic, and it made the red paint look especially garish. Junpei grabbed the handle and shook. It didn't budge, but then he hadn't really expected it to. The red was bolted to the wall next to the door. Its display read vacant. Finally, they'd arrived. Junpei felt a flood of emotion wash over him. He felt a chill run down his spine. His chest tightened even as his blood began to boil. He was about to speak when... Junpei, look behind you! He turned around. Junpei could scarcely believe what he saw. A door and a 9. Wait, what? There's another one? There was... another? Hey! What the hell? What the hell is going on here? His words came slowly and his brain struggled to understand what he'd seen. On shaky legs, he made his way to the second 9. It was a small door, set parallel to the door they'd come through, but in the other corner of the room. 9. There was no mistaking the number, and if any more proof was needed, I read it was bolted to the wall near the door. Grabbed the handle and shook the door, not because he expected it to open, but because he had to make sure it was real. Why the hell are there 2 doors? It was Ace who spoke first. You think perhaps one is the right door and the other is the wrong one? Lotus was skeptical. I don't know about that. That seems unlikely. What makes you say so? Well, think about all the rooms we've been through so far. They're full of puzzles, but there are always hints about how to solve them. I'm pretty sure there aren't any rooms where we just had to go with our best guess and leave it to instinct to solve the thing. Do you really think that at the very end of the game, Zero's gonna suddenly throw in something that depends entirely on luck? Then you're saying there's some sort of hint in this room? No, I don't think there's a hint anywhere in here. I searched it very well when I was here before. I didn't find anything that might have been a hint, though. Well, then that means... Yeah, both of these are the right door. I mean, if you think about it, Zero never actually said there was only one door with a 9 on it. The exit is hidden, but it is there. Seek the exit, seek the door that carries a 9. So could perhaps both these doors meet up like before, or both lead to an exit? That's what I'm kind of thinking. Junpei began to mutter to himself. So if there are 2 number 9 doors, if we split it up, right? That's not gonna work! Junpei blinked and looked at Clover. She held out her hand. You got a notebook and a pen, right? Can I borrow them? Slightly confused, he pulled them out and handed them to her. Look at this! Clover opened the notebook to a blank page and set it down on the desk. Everyone else gathered around her and watched as she wrote down a series of numbers. You get it? The numbers on the top are all the combinations of digital roots of 9. The numbers on the bottom are the people who don't fit. There's only 8 possibilities, and if we split up into groups of two groups of 3 or 4 people. So... if 3 people go through the door, then 4 are left behind. If 4 go through the door, then 3 are left behind, right? Clover nodded as almost if she were pleased with herself for solving a difficult math problem. The room went very quiet. Silence lay across everyone like a thick, heavy blanket. No one spoke. No one liked it. Their faces were blank. Desperate for something else to look at, Junpei turned his eyes to the room around him. As he did, he began to wonder what was in it. Or what was it? The walls were covered with candles. The wavering flame made the shadows of Junpei and his companions look as though they were dancing. Silhouettes on the walls. 2 rows of wooden pews filled most of the room. Between them was a strip of red, rich carpet. The carpet ran straight through the room, ending at the door that pointed to the stern of the boat. At the other end of the carpet, an altar? There was a recessed space set into the wall between the 2 other doors. Sitting on a raised section of the altar was a coffin. A coffin. No, it couldn't possibly be. But if it wasn't, then whose body occupied it? That was as far as Junpei wanted to pursue that line of thought. He decided not to think about the coffin for the time being. At that moment, Seven spoke. There was an edge of humor to his voice, but it was forced. Okay. I give up. I figured if we sat around here long enough, someone would volunteer, but I guess nobody's got the guts to do it. Junpei didn't understand, and he wasn't the only one. What? You guys didn't figure it out yet? Ugh. Fine. Let me enlighten you. Clover was mostly right with her little explanation earlier, but she missed something important. She wasn't really wrong, she just... screw it. Let me just write it out. Seven snatched up the notebook and began to write in it. Everyone else clustered around him, desperate for a look. If you're trying to leave with a group of 3 and a group of 4 and everybody gets out... Clover's right. But there's another way. Only one combination, though. If you split us up into groups of 3 and 3 and 1, you can make the combination. Wait, this means... Don't get me wrong here. I'm not trying to copy Ace or anything like that. Even if he hadn't been the hero back in the big hospital room, I'd still be saying the same thing. The same thing? Are you saying... Yeah, I am. I'll stay behind. Oh my god, you brave man, you. Why are you acting so heroic all of a sudden? Are you some kind of idiot? Lotus was the first to speak. That, in itself, was a little strange. She'd reacted much differently when Ace had volunteered. I'm completely against this. I'll be goddamned if I'm going to have to owe you for getting out of here. That's the reason. I see, Lotus. The rest of them began to speak all at once. I'm against it too. I didn't want to leave Ace behind, and I don't want to leave you either. I don't like that idea. There's gotta be other options. I disagree as well. I can't say I care much for you being the hero. Finally, they quieted down. Junpei looked at Seven. Well, there you go, Seven. Proposal denied. Clover's right. There's gotta be a better way than this. Seven made some noise that was somewhere between a derisive snort and a cough. Huh. Doesn't make any sense. He was doing his best to pretend they were making a foolish decision, but Junpei could see the twinkling of water at the corner of Seven's eyes. That was when Santa spoke. Well, hold on a minute. I haven't said anything yet. Until then, Junpei hadn't realized that Santa had stayed quiet for a whole discussion of Seven's fate. Something in his voice made Junpei uncomfortable. Are you agreeing? You want to leave him here? Santa shook his head. Nah, I'm against it. I didn't want to leave Seven here alone. Then I don't see how it matters. I said alone. Huh? I said I don't want to leave Seven alone. That was a dull shine in Santa's eyes. They were cold and hard. Junpei felt himself shiver. What the hell are you... What, you don't get it? I can't leave just one person. I need 2 more. 3 people including Seven. I'll be leaving behind 3 people. That's my proposal. No. Those are my orders. What do you mean, orders? What the hell makes you think you can order us around? Who the hell's gonna listen to you? You all will. In 3 seconds, you won't have a choice. What? 3, 2, 1. Santa was so fast, Junpei could barely see him. When he moved almost like watching a dance. Or it was almost like watching a dance. His feet moved like lightning. He spun and... No! Oh my god, where the hell did he get a gun? He had June. See? I told you. His lips curled into a cruel, mocking smile. A shudder traveled the length of Junpei's spine. His chest froze and he could feel his breath go stale in his lungs. Nothing made sense. Junpei felt as though his head were about to explode. Santa's sudden change in attitude. Saying that he needed 2 more. The gun in his right hand, a revolver. Santa grabbed June from behind and pressed what Junpei's shaken brain identified as a revolver roughly against her temple. What was he doing with a gun? Where on earth had Santa possibly found a gun? Junpei questions roared in his mind, but his mouth refused to ask them. Seven spoke as though he had sensed Junpei's confusion. The gun's from the other room. What room? One of the rooms behind door 6. I should have known he was going to do this. I should have taken the gun. Well, it's too late now, fat ass. Damn it. A mixture of fury and frustration twisted Seven's face and he glared at Santa. Santa, for his part, didn't so much as flinch. The corner of his lip twitched into a slightly wider smile. Then the smile faded and began to move. He walked backwards, dragging June with him. Before long, his back was resting against the door. On the wall next to him was the red. He put his hand on the scanner panel quickly and then forced June to do the same. Now, time for you to start following my orders. Ace, Lotus, congratulations. I've chosen you to come with me. Put your hands on the red. 3 plus 6 plus 1 plus 8 equals 18, and then you add 1 and 8 and you get that 9. That was what Santa had meant when he said he needed 2 more. Hey, you deaf? I gave you an order. Santa's eyes narrowed to slits. He glared at Ace and Lotus. They stayed frozen like deer caught in the headlights of an oncoming car. Right? Fine. I didn't want to waste any bullets, but you guys just don't get it. No sooner were the words out of Santa's mouth than his hand twitched. Ah! And the gun roared. A section of the floor exploded, scattering wooden splinters across the floor. A thin flume of smoke snaked out of the hole in the floor. There could be no doubt that the gun was real and worked. But why? Santa, why are you... Clover's voice spoke of betrayal and disbelief. Santa, I thought you were one of us. I thought you were friends. What? You know about the leaf word and the 4-leaf clover. Santa's cheek twisted almost impeccably. Or imperceptibly. What the hell is that shit? A I got no idea. You're lying! Shut up. Just shut up, you stupid bitch. You want me to put a bullet in your fucking head? Flecks of spit flew from Santa's mouth, his face twisted with rage. Clover recoiled, her eyes wide. When she spoke, her voice was very small. Santa! He snorted, then shook his head vigorously and turned to face Ace and Lotus. Alright, assholes. What are you still standing there for? Get over here and scan those bracelets. I don't got all day. Oh, what's the matter? You hearing starting to go? Going senile, maybe? Ace and Lotus still didn't move. It was almost as if they couldn't move. June's face was pale behind Santa's arms. Her eyes were wild and her chest heaved with very quick breath, like an animal cornered by a predator. Junpei's mind worked furiously. What were they going to do? Then he realized something. There was nothing they needed to do. There was nothing to debate. June's safety was the first priority. That much was obvious. Doing as Santa had commanded meant that she would be safe from at least 2 threats. She wouldn't be shot, and she would leave the ship alive along with Santa, Ace, and Lotus. There's only one thing for Junpei to do. He turned to Ace and Lotus. Please, go! Huh? But... Jumpy! What are you saying? If you stay here, you're gonna be stuck, Jumpy! And so will Clover and Seven! I know. But you don't need to worry about us. We'll figure something out. Right, Seven? Right, don't you worry, June. You just leave it to us. It's gonna piss me off to do what Santa says, but... Don't worry about me either. There's still something I have to take care of. But... No, you can't. Ace, Lotus, don't do it. Don't worry about me, please. June was almost crying. Junpei walked around behind Ace and Lotus. Without a word, he laid a hand on each of their backs and gently pushed them forward. They almost stumbled, then righted themselves and took another step and another. They turned around and Junpei nodded. Ace and Lotus turned around again and walked slowly towards the door where Santa was waiting for them. After what seemed like an eternity, they stopped. In front of the door marked 9. Santa smiled. Alright, now let's get those hands on the scanner panel. Hurry it up. What's the holdup? But you think I'm fucking around here? I don't give a shit about this girl. The red doesn't need a person, you know. All I need is the bracelet. Get it? Good, now put your goddamn hands on the scanner. I'm not gonna say it again. He shoved the revolver harder against Jun's head, and Jun winced. Fine. Ace sighed, defeated, and placed his hand on the scanner panel. Lotus went next. Lotus glared at Santa and slammed her hand on the scanner panel. The 4th asterisk blinked on. Good job. Now Lotus, pull that lever. As soon as the door opens, you get your asses in there. Try anything stupid and you know what happens, right? Junpei could almost hear Lotus's teeth grind. Oh, she doesn't like being told what to do, man. The door slid open. Door number 9 opened at last. It opened with a low, powerful rumble. A drum roll to welcome the chosen few. Alright, go! Lotus and Ace walked through the door, their eyes furious but defeated. Santa waited until they were all inside, then hauled himself and June across the threshold as well. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, later, sucker. Oh, and even took Junpei's little girlfriend. After exactly 9 seconds, the door swung shut. The gusts of air it created caused the candles on the altar to flicker and die. The room fell silent. Junpei, Clover, and Seven had been left behind. Clover looked down at her hand and traced with her finger the faint blue veins that crisscrossed them. Seven shoved his arms into the front of his overalls and scratched his stomach. No one spoke. Silence made the air feel thick and oppressive. Desperate for something, anything to occupy his mind, Junpei walked to the larger of the 2 9 doors. He stood in front of it and looked at the red. It read engaged. He moved to the smaller door. The red read vacant. The digital root of the remaining people was 7. That's not enough. There was no possible way for them to open a door with a 9 on it. Junpei touched the surface of the door. He thought about June, about Akane Kurashiki. Was she safe? That was all that mattered to him. If she was alive, if she had escaped this horrible boat, that was what Junpei prayed for. 7 came up next to him, pulled off his hat, scratched his head, and sighed. So, what do you want to do, Junpei? What do you mean? What do I want to do? What can we do? 7 opened his mouth to respond when a noise echoed throughout the room. Someone was pounding on something vigorously. It wasn't mechanical, it was certainly human. Junpei and 7 looked at one another. What the hell is that? Shh! Quiet! Clover motioned to 7 to be quiet. She put one finger to her lips and closed her eyes in concentration. It's pounding of some sort. The 3 of them listened, trying to determine where the sound was coming from. Where? Where was it coming from? Could it be? Oh shit, it's not the coffin, is it? Hey, I think it's coming from the coffin. You're right! Let's open it! Let's open it! But how? What are those muscles for? For show? You're telling me to force it open? Just shut up and try. Junpei and 7 grabbed hold of the coffin. They tried to get a good grip of what little purchase they could find and pulled with all their strength. Ah! Damn it! Man, it won't even budge. There was some sort of keypad attached to the coffin. Its purpose would not have been difficult to determine. Their eyes were almost immediately drawn to it. Not another one. Yeah, looks like it. You think we have to put in the right password or it won't open? I think so. The noise wasn't stopping. In fact, it was getting louder. They had no idea what was in the coffin, but they wanted out, and they wanted out now. They had no idea what they were supposed to do. Without a passcode, it didn't seem like there was a lot they could do. They couldn't even tell how many numbers the passcode needed to be. Isn't there a hint somewhere? Well, let's look for one. Unfortunately, there didn't seem to be anything near the coffin. Clover ran to examine the pews. 7 investigated the desk, but they turned up nothing. The sound still wouldn't stop. It wasn't a noise that belonged in that room. What was the passcode? What was Junpei supposed to do? How was he supposed to figure it out? He needed something. What? To be continued. What, is that the ending? Unfortunately, that's the wrong answer. Actually, I'm Santa. Ah! Okay. Now it is time. Let our game begin. You have reached one ending. The game has multiple endings. In order to experience all the endings, you need to save now. Once you're saved, you can restart the game with information you've acquired in this playthrough saved. Once you begin the game again, you can skip through text you've already seen. Simply press right on the control pad button to fast forward through lines you've already read. Once you reach the lines you haven't seen or new choices, it will automatically stop. Memory of the Escape has been added on the title screen. Memory of the Escape enables you to play the stages you have completed. It is recommended to save after this in order to unlock Memory of the Escape. Okay, yeah, sure. Well, I guess that's the first ending. Damn it. I have a very rough idea who the hell is in that coffin. Now, since you Meisters asked for some theorizing, here we go. I would assume that the person in that coffin would be Snake. From what Clover told us, Snake should still be alive. And that's the only person I can think of that's been missing this whole time that might be in that coffin. as Alice lies beyond the forest of knowledge, which would be the library, which we've yet to visit, so it would make sense to me. Anyhow, Meisters, if you did enjoy the video, please leave a like as always. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel and join the Academy, do so now for more Shinigami shenanigans just like today's. I am always trying to be more active on social media. That hasn't changed and never will be. Links will be in description, with my Twitch as well. I do stream on occasion, just very rarely. And, Meisters, you have yourselves a wonderful day, being the final thing. And as always, we'll see you next time on Let's Play 999, where we hopefully don't get locked in a room and die this time. Peace out, Meisters.